There's a saying old says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seek and ye shall find. So I'm going to seek a certain lad.
I was challenged once by Bill Robeson, who is, one of our finest radio directors ever, producer, director, and a fine writer as well.
Looking everywhere, haven't found him yet.
But he had interviewed me and said, what is this now that you double? And I said, oh yeah, I can do, a couple of voices. He says, can you talk to yourself? And I said, well, I guess, why not? Well, he brought me on a show with Elliot Lewis and had me play 5 parts. And he kept waiting for me to complain, and I never said a word. I just marked all the parts. And a couple of them were just one-liners. But still, one time I had 3 characters on the same page, all talking to themselves, me.
That's not easy.
I bet that's
We got off the air, and he said, I guess you can double. Just like that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Somebody I'm longing to see.
After Belle Siddons left Cheyenne, J.B. Kendall met a young herder with the sharpest eyes in the territory named Kid Yancy, and a female justice of the peace named Amy Robinson. He tangled with the Jesse James gang and broke bread with a retired skinner named Nebraska Jack, who had several indigenous wives. Kendall met a cat salesman, and in Deadwood a teenager who learned to shoot with .46 caliber converted Remingtons and made himself into the fastest gun ever seen.
Hey, well, looky here. Hey, boys, come over here and have a look-see. Hey, what you carrying there, son? Buffalo guns. Hey, boy, don't you know packing them great big old heavy things is like to make you a bow-legged before your time?
Crowley, you just shot up my paw an hour back. I aim to kill you for it.
Kill me! You kidding that there mealy mouth Taylor down the street? Boy, I might have known. Mealy mouth little son.
Mr. Crowley, I'm gonna put my gun back now. Next time I unshuck it, you better draw your own self, because I ain't gonna be doing no fancy trick shooting a glass out of your hand. I'm gonna kill you.
Boy, you sure are fast, that's for sure.
Jack Kruschen was by then one of the most talented character actors on radio. In 1960, he was an Academy Award nominee for his role as Dr. Dreyfuss in The Apartment.
Mildred, he's at it again.
My start was at CBS Radio here in Hollywood, doing a sustaining show, we used to call those. It meant you didn't...
That's right.
Non-sponsored, right?
Non-sponsored.
Yeah.
It also meant you didn't get paid in those days.
Oh, really?
$1938.
No?
1938.
Okay.
I got gore. And, and it was 13 weeks. A wonderful experience because I got to play a different foreign character every week. And at the age of 16, that was pretty exciting.
How
for
about
me.
that?
That's
Pretty,
16.
this kid here, are you kidding? She was a baby.
Yeah.
I was a graduate of high school.
Someone to watch over
Once again, I met a lady named Belle and learned about a gentleman named Archie McLaughlin. This taking place in Deadwood, Dakota Territory.
Frontier Gentleman. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West, As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. In just a moment, we will bring you this latest report from the Frontier Gentleman. Throughout the week on CBS Radio, Walter Cronkite and Bill Downs report the business news. They bring you up-to-the-minute information on price trends, employment, marketing situations, and the stock market. It's information that can help consumers save money, can help businessmen make money. Join us on CBS Radio regularly as most of the stations bring you the business news reported by Walter Cronkite or Bill Downs. Now, starring John Daner, this is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentleman.
The tent had been set up on Main Street in the heart of what is known as Deadwood's Badlands district. The last time I had seen it was 2 months earlier in Cheyenne. It was a gambling establishment belonging to a rather extraordinary woman who called herself Madame Verdi. To be exact, Lurleen Monteverdi. Owing to the fact that during the war she had been a Confederate spy, she no longer used her real name, which I knew to be Belle Siddons. It was mid-morning, a comparatively quiet hour in Deadwood as I strolled toward the tent. Off to one side, I saw the wagon that had been converted into a type of omnibus, and which served as Miss Siddons' living quarters, complete with lace curtains and satin cushions. At that moment, the wagon door opened, and she stepped down.
Mr. Kendall!
Well...
Mr. Kendall, how nice to see you
Well, I'm
again.
delighted to see you, Madame Verdi.
Well, I was thinking of changing to Vestal, but it's still Verdi, Mr. Kendall. Unless we're alone, then I think I'd rather you call me Belle.
Yes, thank you. When did you arrive in Deadwood?
Last night. The tent has only just gone up.
And I hope you have better luck than you had in Cheyenne.
Where there's gold fever, there's more than enough business for all. I don't think the gentlemen of Deadwood will object to my presence.
When will you open?
Tonight. But what about you? Really, I've never expected to see you again. What have you been doing?
Oh, not much. Writing my articles, sending them to London, hoping they'll be printed.
I should have thought you'd have joined the gold hunt in the Black Hills.
No, I'm afraid I've never make a successful prospector.
Oh, what a strange man you are. Will you come with me to the tent?
Yes, of course.
I want to make sure the tables are ready for tonight. Then perhaps you'll take me to breakfast. We should have some. It's very good.
Thank you, no. I had breakfast 2 hours ago.
Huh? Is that a reproach?
Not at all.
I hate to get up early. I always have.
As a matter of habit. It doesn't make much difference.
Do you know that you've been staring at me? Is there egg on my chin?
No, not at all. Forgive me. It's only that I'd forgotten how attractive you are. One doesn't very often see an attractive woman in these parts.
I'm not sure whether to be flattered or not.
You have a charming smile. It reminds me of the Mona Lisa, a little obscure. One can never be sure why she's smiling.
Probably holding a pat hand.
You enjoy gambling, don't you?
I don't think I ever looked at it that way. Enjoyment. I gamble because it's the most convenient way to make a good living.
Oh, I think there's more to it.
Curiosity isn't healthy in the West. Haven't you learned that yet, Mr. Kendall?
I'm a newspaper correspondent.
Is that why you're interested in me?
Oh, you are a lovely woman who says one thing with her lips and something altogether different with her eyes. Now, that intrigues me.
All women do that.
No, they don't. Not in Dakota Territory. They're a little more obvious.
You know, in some ways, you're like my husband. Hewitt Hallett. I think I told you about him.
Yes, you did.
He was a very direct man. I think he would have liked you.
Don't turn around. There's a gentleman wearing a badge coming over to the table.
Huh?
Morning.
Good morning.
Name's Boone May. I'm a peace officer here in Deadwood. I take it you're Madame Verdi, ma'am.
That's right.
Mind if I sit down a minute?
Not at all.
Thank you.
You're that newspaper man, Kendall, ain't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you was pointed out, that's how I knew, savvy? Well, ma'am, I seen the posters your boys been putting up around town, went over to your establishment. They said where I'd find you.
It isn't against the law, is it? I mean, putting up posters?
Oh, shucks, no, ma'am. I just figured I wanted to get acquainted is all.
That's very friendly. Don't you think so, Madame Verdi?
Very.
Well, now, I'm a real friendly feller, madam. Always like to know who's new to Deadwood. Of course, seeing you and all, I'm kind of surprised that a lady sets up business in the Badlands. That's the roughest territory in town. You know that?
I'm not a lady, Mr. May. I'm a gambler. I was told that my situation is the best corner on Main Street. That's why I took it. I'm paying a very high rent. I hope that I haven't been misled.
Well, now, ma'am, if it's business you want and you don't care who gives it to you, you'll do fine. I thought you ought to know, though, that there's some pretty mean boys will be visiting you. That's where they go, to the Badlands.
And I hope they'll become patrons.
Yeah. Well, I reckon I'll be coming around tonight. Kind of see everything gets off to a good start.
I shall look forward to seeing you, Mr. May.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because I got a feeling you being a woman and all, well, you might need some protection. Now, if I can help, you just give a holler here. I'll be there.
You're very kind.
So long, ma'am. Mr. Kendall.
Mr. May. Now, I wonder why.
Why?
What did he really want?
Didn't you hear? I'm a woman. He wants to protect me.
You don't believe that?
No.
Do you think he knows about you being Belle Siddons? Possibly somebody from Cheyenne has brought word?
It's possible, but I don't think so. I hope not. I want to stay open for a few nights before they throw me out of Deadwood.
If you don't mind, I'd rather like to come tonight. It'll be worth seeing how Deadwood reacts to Madame Verdi.
Lilian Buyeff and Lawrence Dobkin remembered the fluidity of radio acting.
I think probably the best thing about the radio days was that as an actor you could stay fluent. You were in and out, the job was done. The ease and speed of radio, the absence of commitment, the absence of time spent, you could have all the thrill and all the challenge of a full performance with 4 rehearsals and the air show.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't spend 8 hours driving to and from location and getting in and out of wardrobe and waiting for the young actors to learn how to do their parts.
Well, the characters all knew one another. You had played opposite one another. We played well together. I mean, we just knew what to expect.
You worked all the bugs out of it.
Yeah. But that was true on other shows, too. If you'd worked with the same people a number of times on other shows, you knew that you could insert a sigh or a laugh or whatever and not throw them.
Yeah.
It was just the natural thing to do.
On most of these same stations.
Deadwood's reception of Madame Verdi will long be remembered. She stood on a board and was carried through the entire town on the shoulders of 4 strapping miners. It was a precarious balance, yet she contrived to appear quite regal and an extraordinary woman. The tent was open for business and immediately became filled to overflowing. Belle took her seat at the 21 table and was besieged by a crowd of men anxious to lose their fortunes to the gently smiling dealer. I was standing at the bar, drinking a beer, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was Boone May.
Say, come on out a minute. I want a word with you.
All right.
All bets down, gents.
Some crowd, huh? Hey, Mr. Kendall, are you a good friend of the madam.
I knew her in Cheyenne. I'd say we're fairly good friends.
You want to do her a favor?
It depends.
And tell her to play it straight. She can stay in Deadwood.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, now I'll tell you. You see, me and my boys, our job is to watch out for the gold shipments. Now, you take some of them stage drivers and shotgun boys guarding the gold, they get a drink too many in them, and, well, they like to maybe talk some too much. Savvy?
No.
Well, like maybe when a gold shipment's due to pull out of Deadwood.
Well?
Suppose that talk gets into Madam's pretty ear. Suppose she passes it along to somebody. Suppose somebody holds up a stagecoach carrying a box full of gold, Sammy.
I think so.
There's fellas in that tent right now, a dozen or better. Bad medicine. I seen them watching her, figuring the odds. Johnny Bull Collins, Laughing Sam, C.C. Clifton, Archie McLaughlin. They'd make it worth her while to talk turkey at the right time. Maybe a split on the take.
Ah, now I see what you mean. And you want me to tell her not to do business with these chaps?
That's what I mean.
Well, couldn't you have told her the same thing?
I could. I reckon coming from you it'd mean a sight more.
Well, why?
Oh, mister. I've seen the way she looks at you. And when a female gets soft in the eyes, she'll listen to one man more than another. She'll listen to you.
The way she No, my friend. I'm afraid you're mistaken.
Say, I'm willing to make a proposition. You tell her, see? Any of that wild bunch try to deal her in on a hold-up. If she gets the word to me first, I'll see she ain't forgotten. The company's setting out the gold to take care of her. Savvy?
I savvy, but I'm not your man.
How come?
I don't know her the way you think I do. You're quite wrong about her feelings for me.
Mister, you couldn't teach a setting hen to cluck.
Very possible. But if you have business to discuss with her, I suggest that you do it yourself. I left the peace officer Boone May and went back to my hotel. My next 2 weeks were taken up with the story of a fabulous gold strike located a few miles from Deadwood. I didn't see Madame Verdi again until the evening of my return. I was in my hotel room sorting some notes.
Evening. May I come in?
Yes, of course. Won't you sit down?
I was afraid you might have left for good.
No, I went up into the hills. There's been a new strike.
I heard about him. Why didn't you come back that night? I saw you go out with Boone May.
I was tired.
Oh. He talked to me, you know.
Did he?
Wanted to make a deal. Seems that certain information in Deadwood is worth a lot of money to both sides.
The gold shipments?
Yes. It's amazing what a man gives away when he's drunk.
Well, have you made any deals on either side?
Not yet. I wanted to talk to you first.
Why?
Because you're the only man I've wanted to talk to since my husband died.
Money means a great deal to you, doesn't it?
Yes. I've never considered living without it.
Or with less of it?
You sound like a preacher, Mr. Kendall.
Do I?
What difference does it make whether I deal with McLaughlin or Boone May or both?
The road agent, Archie McLaughlin?
Yes. He's offered me quite a lot.
A little dangerous, isn't it? Telling me, I mean.
No, I trust you.
You'd tell McLaughlin when a gold shipment's leaving Deadwood. And you tell Boone May that McLaughlin's going to hold up the stage. I have a feeling that one or the other is going to resent it.
You have a very funny way of putting things, Mr. Kendall. Why don't you tell me your first name?
It's Jeremy. Jeremy Bryan.
They're nice names. But you make them sound so very correct. Just as you are, Mr. Kendall.
I'm sorry.
If I asked you to come with me, join my establishment, what would you say?
I'm not a particularly good gambler.
I could teach you.
If I were to ask you to leave your establishment, come with me, what would you say?
You're a most impractical man. I should be quite happy with you for about a month. And I'd leave you because we'd be much too poor.
I was kicked out of the army because I was impractical. In a way, it was a very good thing.
Why?
Because I refused to testify in a court-martial proceeding against an officer I barely knew.
Well, that was stupid.
Not at all. The man was innocent.
In Cheyenne, you said there was a woman in England.
There was. She was part of it all.
You're much too principled for me.
I don't think so.
Why did you kiss me?
I wanted to see if you'd stop smiling.
I'm not smiling.
It had always been a rule of thumb in radio that there should not be any dead air, that people must keep talking. Well, we changed that, not because we deliberately set out to change it, but just because the people we were working with didn't talk all the time. So we had to fill it with sound patterns. We had 3 sound men for the most part, Bill James, Tom Hanley, Ray Kemper, who contributed more to the show than anybody could ever imagine.
After I took her back to the gambling tent in the Badlands, I went to have dinner. What I didn't know then was that at about the same time, 2 men were riding up to an abandoned shanty in the timber near Deadwood. One of the riders was Billy Mansfield, the other Alexander Caswell. Both were heavily armed. They went into the shanty. A 3rd man was inside waiting for them. He was Archie McLaughlin.
How come you're late? We didn't get your message till a short while back.
Where's the others? Johnny, Jack Smith.
He'll be here, Billy. We making a raid?
Yeah.
There's a stage to Rapid City tomorrow. She's carrying a box of gold.
How much?
I don't know, but it'll be worth it. That calico queen of yours, she's sure the... Hey, you shut your mouth, Caswell. She ain't no calico queen. Madame Verdi's a lady, and don't you forget it. Sure, I didn't mean nothing.
You didn't mean nothing, Arch.
It don't matter. Besides, I didn't get this from her. Johnny Brown heard a shotgun rider talking about it down at Maggie's saloon.
Where are we going to take it, Arch?
Well, I figure we'll take the coach and whoop up Canyon between here and Rapid City.
Well, I know where that is. That's a fine place for it, Arch. We can ride right down before they know what's happening.
No sense going back to Deadwood now. Better if nobody sees us till after the job's done. We'll hole up here tonight.
Well, now, nice to see you back, Kendall. Make yourself comfortable. Say, I hope you didn't mind me interrupting your dinner.
I'll mind less when you tell me why you did.
I hear you've been up in the hills.
Look here, May. I got a message to come to your office. You said it was important. Let's get to the point.
Yeah, that's right. You seen Madame Verdi tonight?
Is that why you asked me to come here?
No. Of course, I know you seen her. She was up to your hotel.
You seem to know everything that happens in Deadwood.
That's my business.
Well?
She'd tell you about our deal.
She mentioned it.
She'd tell you about McLaughlin?
No.
No. I guess she wouldn't. Since you've been gone, them 2 is quite a something in Deadwood.
What do you mean?
Well, I guess you ain't heard. Night she opened right after you left. Archie McLaughlin got to playing 21 with her. I guess he wasn't up to keeping his mind on the cards because he lost his last dollar. He's a good-looking young cuss, and I seen her give him a little extra smile. It was kind of late. She offered to take him to breakfast.
I'm not particularly interested in all this.
I reckon you will be. Now, Archie thinks her real polite and says he's about due for a turn of luck, and when it comes his way, he'll come back and buy her breakfast. A few days later, he does come back, and he's got his pockets full of gold. They went out for breakfast. Been going out ever since.
Go on.
Now, Madame Verde, she knows for sure who he is and what he is. Ain't no mistake about that. I'm figuring she didn't take my advice about making deals with those boys, savvy? Especially McLaughlin.
What's all this got to do with me?
You didn't know about them?
No.
Listen, Kendall, I'm a peace officer. It's same as any other job, except more so, maybe. I got to know what goes on, savvy? Well, she's told me a stage is going to be robbed tomorrow night somewhere twixt here and Rapid City. She say anything about that to you?
No. Why should she?
I don't know.
Is that all?
I reckon you know now she's sweet on McLaughlin, don't you?
Good night, Mr. May.
She says she don't know who's going to do the holdup. Now, if she's double-crossing me, you tell her.
Belle, over here.
Hello.
Belle, I've just seen Boone May, and he suggests that you don't double-cross him. I think he's talking about McLaughlin.
He told you? About Archie? About me?
Yes.
I suppose I should apologize to you.
No, there's no need to. But if you really care about him, I think you'd better start playing straight with Boone May.
What do you mean?
The holdup you told him about. He suspects something.
What?
I don't know. Perhaps that you and McLaughlin are working together.
No, that's not so. I don't know who's doing the holdup, but it isn't Arch. He would have told me.
Honor among thieves. You know, if Mr. May knew what you were doing...
He'd probably have me hanged. Why'd you come here to warn me?
Why shouldn't I? I'll be writing about you.
Oh.
Well, there's one thing I'd like to know. Are you very much in love with McLaughlin?
I don't know. Perhaps in a way that doesn't mean anything to you. I can't explain.
Just be careful.
I have to get back to my table now. There's money waiting to be won.
The following night, I accompanied Boone May on the stagecoach, carrying $20,000 in gold bound for Rapid City. With us were 5 special deputies. What happened when we were stopped by McLaughlin and his men, I shall report in my next dispatch to the London Times.
Frontier Gentleman was written, produced, and directed by Anthony Ellis and stars John Daner as J.B. Kendall.
For radio directors like Gunsmoke's Norman Macdonnell. Even the late 1950s offered something they loved.
I would truly enjoy going back to the old days of being completely involved in radio. There was a marvelous feeling of going home after you finished your day's work and indeed finished your program and sitting down and saying, boy, I liked what happened today. I liked the show we did. I feel good about it. And being able to sit there sometimes, if it was tape delay or something, and hear your own show was a great sense of satisfaction. The beauty, of course, was that the next morning you got up and started on the script for the following day or 2 days later or 5 days later, and you were starting a whole new world all over again, which you wanted to deliver in 3 days and had to be confined to 29 minutes and 30 seconds. And this, I think, was the beauty of radio. Each member of the audience, however big or however small, had a chance to exercise his own imagination and to draw his own pictures and add it to what he heard. Bill Robeson said that America may well have forgotten how to listen. And I think this might well be true. So many of us are apt to sit in front of the television set. Whether we really absorb anything or not, I don't know. We sit and we watch. In radio, which has been called the theater of the mind, your imagination worked and drew for you whatever pictures you wanted. The theater of the mind's been dark for nearly 15 years now, and I think perhaps it's time somebody turned the lights up again.
It's a never-ending source of amazement to me what a woman will do for or to a man. This happened in Dakota Territory.
Frontier Gentlemen. Herewith an Englishman's account of life and death in the West. As a reporter for the London Times, he writes his colorful and unusual stories. But as a man with a gun, he lives and becomes a part of the violent years in the new territories. In just a moment, we will bring you this latest report from the Frontier Gentlemen. Not just a news program, but a clever, concise focus on the world tonight, 7 nights a week on CBS Radio. Listen to The World Tonight, reporting odd, stimulating, and important sidelights to the day's events. Hear CBS News round up the stories behind the news, frequently in the voices of the newsmakers themselves. 7 nights a week on most of these stations, CBS Radio presents The World Tonight. Now, starring John Daner, this is the story of J.B. Kendall, Frontier Gentlemen.
The lady I knew as Belle Siddons had brought her gambling establishment to Deadwood. And as I had reason to know, where went Miss Siddons, so followed trouble. This remarkable and very pretty woman had once been a Confederate spy. In the years following the war, she had married, been widowed, and after spending a short time as a tutor at the Red Cloud Indian Agency, she drifted into gambling, becoming one of the most skillful 21 dealers in the West. Belle, or Madame Verdi, as she called herself in Deadwood, was playing a very dangerous game. This was impressed upon me by a peace officer named Boone May. I was sitting in his office the morning after he had learned of a planned stagecoach holdup.
You get to talk to Madame Verdi last night, Kendall?
I spoke to her.
She say anything?
About what?
You know about what. Stage holdup is supposed to be on for tonight.
Well, she knows there's going to be one, that's all.
What'd she say about McLaughlin?
Nothing much. I told her you thought they were planning the robbery together.
What'd she say?
She laughed.
Huh? That's so.
Then she said she'd told you the truth. No, one of her casemen had heard a gold shipment was going to be stopped between here and Rapid City. She doesn't know who's going to do it.
The way things are between her and McLaughlin, I wouldn't figure her square. Would you?
If she's really in love with him, I don't imagine she'd want to see him caught.
I'm going to find out. That's for sure.
How?
Well, I'll tell you, Kendall. It wouldn't be smart me getting mouthy about what I aim to do until it's time to do it. You being a newspaper feller and all. You savvy?
You afraid I'll tell Madame Verdi?
Well, now, I ain't exactly afraid, but I ain't over-anxious neither. See, I've been living in Deadwood long enough to know it ain't smart to put trust in any man or a woman. Maybe that's how come I'm still living.
Yeah, I suppose in your job it's the safest way.
Yeah, that's right.
What about this Archie McLaughlin?
You haven't met him?
No.
Well, he's real polite. Good-natured young feller. At leastways, that's the way you figure him to be. Then you find out he fought with Quantrell's raiders on the Kansas border in the war. I ain't kept track of his killing since then, but they say there's 4 or more he shot down here and other places. Well, he's a road agent, spends most of what he steals gambling.
But if you know his record, why haven't you arrested him?
Well, I know what I hear tell. I ain't got proof. That's what I need. Maybe tonight that's what I'm going to get.
I'd like to be there when you do.
Yeah, I guess you ain't got a good feeling toward him at that, him taking Madame Verdi from you.
You insist there's a great romance between the lady and me, don't you?
I heard things was a simmering.
False rumor.
How come you're so interested in McLaughlin, then?
That's part of my job. I'm a newspaper correspondent, remember?
Yeah. All right, Kendall, you come back here this evening, say about 6 o'clock. Maybe I'll have something for you to write about in that London paper of yours.
I spent the rest of the day in my hotel room sorting out notes and preparing outlines of future articles. At 6 o'clock precisely, I returned to Boone May's office. He was buckling on a gun belt, smiled at me in his mirthless way as I walked in.
You all set, huh?
Yes?
You seen the madam again?
No.
I know you ain't. I had somebody watching just in case.
Javert.
Huh?
A French policeman. Man by the name of Victor Hugo wrote about him. You have a great deal in common.
Oh. You got a gun?
Yes.
That's fine. Come on.
Where are we going?
Well, down to the stage station. Going to take a little trip.
When we reached the station, I saw a coach with 5 heavily armed men standing near it. Each carried a rifle and holstered guns. Boone May nodded to them.
All set, boys?
Ready as I'll ever be.
This feller's Kendall. He's riding with us to see the fun. Gold come in yet?
We already loaded it, Boone.
All right, let's get going then. Sam, you drive. Davenport, you ride shotgun. The rest of us be inside. Go ahead, Kendall, after you.
All right, you are.
Move over just a little.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of tight squeezed with all the artillery. Come on, boys. Get the rifles on the floor. We won't have no use for them for a while. All right, let's go, Sam.
You think it's safe to tell me about it now?
Sure. No harm now. This here is the regular coach for Rapid City. Instead of the company driver and guards, these are my men.
As I gathered that.
See that box under the seat?
Yes?
50,000 in gold. That's what we're going to be stopped for.
Ah.
Don't mind a little shooting, do you?
I don't imagine I'll have much choice, will I?
That's a human fact. Oh, say, Kendall, that there French fella, a law dog.
Javert?
Yeah. Was he a good one?
I suppose in some ways you could say he was.
Gunslinger?
No. He didn't have to be.
We may have a fairish long ride. How's about you telling me more about it? How'd you say that name again?
Javert.
Javert.
In a moment, we return to Frontier Gentlemen.